Hi, I'm Kristin Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? Hi!
Hi!
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You know, pretty good. I mean, hanging in there, rolling with it, you know. Looking back, it's super interesting. And this is partly what I was thinking about with your book as well, because obviously, I mean, we're here to talk about the show. We will talk about the show. But I love that people that I grew up with watching, like yourself, and also have gotten to meet over the years and admired, are now writing about their lives in such an interesting way of like all the changes that have happened culturally and how you've kind of been right there for a lot of it. And I think it's such a gift. And how was the experience of looking back?
You know, it was a really interesting experience. I have kept journals for the past like 50 years.
Smart.
And sometimes it's just drawings on the pages. Sometimes it's things that I glue in there, you know, souvenirs, ticket stubs and leaves and whatever. But then it really guided me for the book because I came across the journals and I started reading going, wow, you know, I really have had a lot of adventures. And whenever I tell my adventure stories, people always say, you got to write a book. So I started writing the book, and I quickly discovered that some chapters I really didn't want to write about.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are the chapters I think that the my publishers were most interested in.
Of course.
You know, I love the daring do adventures and all of that. And but they're like, no. People will relate because people go through divorces and people go through all of that, and it has to be relatable. And if you're going to give the fun adventures and some of the stuff that modeling has afforded me, you know, you also have to say it's not always only the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Life is a series of moments, and if you're going to write a book, you kind of have to give the good and the bad, you know, the beautiful, the ugly, the whole thing, warts and all. So
I mean, this is life. This is life, and it is life, whether you might be one of the most beautiful women in the world or not. You know what I'm saying? I think that's also just such a really fascinating and powerful thing. But I also feel what I take from it is that, you know, you have been through so much, and yet you still do have this kind of beautiful, hopeful, you know, love of adventure and openness. And that's what I admire so much.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel like that's a gift.
That's something that I admire in your character, Charlotte.
Well, it's very related. It really is. It really is. I don't even really have to ask you if you're a Charlotte, because I kind of think I know.
I mean, I you know, my daughters and I have this on 24/7. I mean, it's like comfort food, you know?
Yeah,
With the world so crazy, we could put on an episode of Sex in the City and the music wakes up, dun, 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 and then it's like being with old friends.
Yeah.
And, it really is something that we really enjoy together. And we're always saying, I don't know, I think I'm this, I'm that, you know, it just depends.
Does it change?
Your life. Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, I think I've been a little bit of everybody.
Oh,
you know.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get to maybe more of that later as we go through the episode. That's an interesting answer, Kristin. I would have anticipated you saying. Very interesting. Okay. I like it. I feel like too, it's one of those things for me where I didn't really ever rewatch until I started the podcast, because I just felt like I don't want to live in the past. You know, it was such a mixed thing.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I hadn't seen the episodes since we made them, and they would send them on the VHS tape and we'd run home and watch them. And I wouldn't really watch them on HBO at the time either, because, you know, I was living my life and enjoying everyone else saying, you know, but this is back in the day where we talked about it rather than writing about it online, of course. And I just love to hear the reaction, you know, the next week or whatever. And now to look back on it, because so many people are now seeing it from Netflix and rewatching it and telling me what you
And
just
so
said.
many people watching it with their kids,
Yes. Which,
yeah.
mind-boggling.
Yes.
Mind-boggling. Like, we never would have dreamt this in a million hundred years. But I love to hear the different generations and their thoughts and feelings about the characters, about the bigger plot points, which plot points or stories or themes still resonate. It's super fascinating. But it is it's very kind of therapeutic and interesting also. You know? I mean, sometimes I have unexpected feelings, and sometimes I don't remember anything. And there's parts of this particular episode, and I should tell everyone, we are rewatching the episode. It is 208, so we're still in the second season. It is The Man, the Myth, the Viagra. A very mysterious and loaded title, and it is directed by Victoria Hochberg and written by Michael Patrick King. And this one would have been, we would shoot two at a time. So the last one that we watched was The Chicken Dance, which Victoria also directed. So we would have been filming them both simultaneously. And sometimes I find that I remember one plot more than the other plot, because you're just so like overwhelmed basically in the moment. And obviously it was a while ago. And we were always up all night and, semi-delirious. So let me ask you too, I'd love to hear, like, when we were doing the show in the beginning, which would have been, 97 is the pilot, 98. Where were you? Were you watching? What were your thoughts?
Okay. Well, also, I just have to mention, the scene where Mr. Big sings?
Yes.
So I love that. See, I was surprised. He's got like a real Frank Sinatra voice.
Totally agree.
Yes. And I just love that scene. But I think that was across the street from the Ambassador Theater where I played Roxy Hart.
I think you're right. Oh my God. Incredible.
I was like, when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's the restaurant across the street.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Yes. That's a good one. It is one of those things too, where I do have so many thoughts and feelings and memories about all the locations, because of course we were around and there, and we were always trying to film somewhere that was familiar to us and, or the moment, the restaurant of the moment or whatever it was. But I think that in particular was Chris's special place that he obviously loves. Yes.
Because they really do the singing, and I bet he really is a regular.
Yes, which is incredible. Okay, so where were you? Were in New York?
I'm trying to think of what year was that?
97. We did the pilot. 98. We came on the air.
Okay, 97. Okay, so that was I think Sailor. Let's see, Sailor was born in 98.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. So, that's what you were doing.
Yeah. So 97, I was actually just fresh out of one divorce and just rushing into another marriage.
Got it.
It didn't take time to learn the lesson.
You're human, babe. It's okay.
Another one, and then, a year later, there's Sailor.
Right.
That was,
Right. A lot going on in Christie's life back then. Yes. I love it. And when, do you ever remember, did you already have your house at the beach at that point?
At that point, I had moved lock, stock, and barrel from the Hamptons to Colorado.
Oh.
All my stuff was still in Colorado. Ooh. So when I came back, my apartment in the city was empty. It was summertime. And so I wanted to look like, despite the fact that my life was in shambles, and I had a brand new baby boy, I was like thinking, because see, Jack was born in 95. Sailor was born in 98.
Got it. Okay.
This is around this time of like craziness in my life.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Chapters that were hard to write.
I understand. Totally.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, like, were you aware of us so much then, or was it later when you were settled out in the Hamptons?
Oh, I was aware. I mean, when you guys came on the scene, it was quite a big splash. Everybody knew and everybody was talking about it. But I didn't have time to watch a lot of TV.
Right.
So I was very aware, and I was aware of all of you and the clothes and the looks and all of that.
Right.
But probably really when I think it was during quarantine that I really, yes,
No.
because I really wasn't watching a ton of TV in my life.
Yeah, I understand.
But during quarantine, I learned about streaming things and we would just like binge watch.
Oh, got it.
And it was so great to look forward to, another session the next day.
Yeah. So you're relatively recent. Interesting. So you have met all of us, I assume, over the years and like known us without having seen the show.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I mean,
Super fascinating.
Of course I'd seen the show, but not in the sequence.
Right.
In the
Got it.
getting really into it the way, and especially with two girls on each side,
Of
all
course.
their opinions and
Right.
all of that. It was really amazing to watch.
That's super
every
interesting.
time I bump in, I always have to tell every one of you. Like I bump into Cynthia at a screening in the Hamptons. I was like, you cannot believe your show is on all the time. And and go through it.
Nice.
And recently I also saw Sarah Jessica over the summer. She had an event at her house.
Right.
Really smart political kind of event that I wished I'd had time to get more involved with. But anyway, and again, I had to go even though I was at the opening also of, and just like that premiere.
I remember.
Sipping the Cosmos and
yeah. I mean, I feel like you've been around the whole time, really, because you're kind of a fixture in the Hamptons and New York. And, I was always aware of you being around and
yes. And Kim, I would bump into quite frequently in the Hamptons.
Right. She had a house out there.
At Kinnis, I remember we bumped into each other. And
oh, that's nice. It's good. So it's funny. It's like you're kind of adjacent to the show in my memory the whole time. In terms of New York and like friendly faces that we would see, supportive people that obviously I was aware of my whole life because I was a, huge fan. And, I'll just say for any of the young people listening, part of the reason that I was a huge fan, which I think is important to say, is that so Christie was this huge model. She was on Sports Illustrated in, I can't remember the year. I should look it up. But the thing that I loved the most about you is that you had, in terms of the other presentation of models' bodies, you had a womanly strong body, which as a young woman, I really, really respected and appreciated. You were incredibly gorgeous, but you were never like that twig looking, thing.
I tried to have that look a couple times, but life's too short.
Absolutely. And you gave that energy as well, which was so important back then because nobody else was. You were like the only one for a long time who seemed like a real person who wanted to live life and have fun and looked incredible. So it was like a powerful, powerful message to my young self, which I really appreciate.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes. So you had a special place in my mind because of that anyway, and then to see you around and, it was just always very, very cool. I thought like very nice. And also you were always so involved in so many interesting things, politically and like community wise. And I really respect that, of course, also.
Oh, thank you.
So what happened at Chappaquiddick? Well, it really depends on who you talk to.
There are many versions of what happened in 1969 when a young Ted Kennedy drove a car into a pond.
And left a woman behind to drown.
There's a famous headline, I think in the New York Daily News. It's Teddy escapes, blonde drowns. And in a strange way, right, that sort of tells you the story really became about Ted's political future, Ted's political hopes. Will Ted become president?
Chappaquiddick is a story of a tragic death and how the Kennedy machine took control.
And he's not the only Kennedy to survive a scandal.
The Kennedys have lived through disgrace, affairs, violence, you name it. So is there a curse? Every week, we go behind the headlines and beyond the drama of America's royal family.
Listen to United States of Kennedy on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The summer of 1993 was one of the best of my life. I'm journalist Jeff Pearlman, and this is Rick Jervis.
We were interns at the Nashville Tennessean, but the most unforgettable part? Our roommate, Reggie Payne, from Oakland, sports editor and aspiring rapper.
And his stage name? Sexy Sweat. In 2020, I had a simple idea. Let's find Reggie.
We searched everywhere, but Reggie was gone. In February 2020, Reggie was having a diabetic episode. His mom called 911. Police cuffed him face down. He slipped into a coma and died.
I'm like, thanking you. But then I see my son's not moving.
No headlines, no outrage, just silence.
So we started digging and uncovered city officials bent on protecting their own.
Listen to Finding Sexy Sweat on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
A foot washed up a shoe with some bones in it. They had no idea who it was.
Most everything was burned up pretty good from the fire, that not a whole lot was salvageable.
These are the coldest of cold cases, but everything is about to change.
Every case that is a cold case that has DNA right now in a backlog will be identified in our lifetime.
A small lab in Texas is cracking the code on DNA. Using new scientific tools, they're finding clues in evidence so tiny, you might just miss it.
He never thought he was going to get caught. And I just looked at my computer screen. I was just like, gotcha.
On America's Crime Lab, we'll learn about victims and survivors. And you'll meet the team behind the scenes at Othram, the Houston lab that takes on the most hopeless cases, to finally solve the unsolvable. Listen to America's Crime Lab on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What would you do if one bad decision forced you to choose between a maximum security prison or the most brutal boot camp designed to be hell on earth? Unfortunately for Mark Lombardo, this was the choice he faced.
He said, "You are a number, a New York State number, and we own you."
Shock incarceration, also known as boot camps, are short-term, highly regimented correctional programs that mimic military basic training. These programs aim to provide a shock of prison life, emphasizing strict discipline, physical training, hard labor, and rehabilitation programs. Mark had one chance to complete this program and had no idea of the hell awaiting him the next 6 months.
The first night was overwhelming, and you don't know who's next to you. And we didn't know what to expect in the morning. Nobody tells you anything.
Listen to Shock Incarceration on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Everyone thinks they'd never join a cult, but it happens all the time to people just like you. And people just like us. I'm Lola Blanc.
And I'm Megan Elizabeth. We're the hosts of Trust Me, a podcast about cults, manipulation, and the psychology of belief.
Each week, we talk to fellow survivors, former believers, and experts to understand why people get pulled in and how they get out.
Trust Me, new episodes every Wednesday on Exactly Right. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's talk about the show.
Yes.
So this particular episode, I didn't have many memories of, but when I watched it, I was really into it. I think it's a great episode. I was surprised also, especially by the big developments. I think that one of the things I find most interesting, and I wonder how your experience of watching with your daughters is, in terms of the Big Carrie relationship. The first season, I was kind of horrified looking back on it. I hadn't really remembered that he was so aloof and kind of not giving to her and open. But I also feel like back then we were all so used to that as women.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because sometimes we look at it and we go, he seems very patient with her.
Yeah.
And he seems like, I mean, we kind of feel like he had a worse rap than he actually was.
Okay.
Yeah. And, and it seemed like Carrie was she seemed to be the one that was trying to advance the relationship too quickly, get the key, leave something, all of that, have him, like try almost a little too controlling of him.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I felt like, it's great that she speaks her mind and says what she needs.
Yeah.
But also, it seemed like when they would be having a fine time, that she was making it into a problem that wasn't necessary.
Okay. Thank you, Christie. This is super interesting. My problem is that because I was in it, right, I never thought about these things objectively at all. And now looking back on it, I have so many different feelings all the time. Like also because I know her and it's so hard to separate the people from the characters, even when you know them, because they're so vivid on the screen. They're so great, right?
Yeah.
In the first season, there were more times where I felt like she is kind of asking for more. And yes, sometimes it does seem like it comes somewhat out of the blue, but I think that's because Carrie is very complex and she has a lot going on, right? So and she's holding it in. Like in this particular episode, she's holding in that she doesn't like him looking at these other women. And they do discuss that this was very common and they show all these other, people on the street looking at other women. And obviously we begin the show with all the beautiful women in New York, which is 100% true. So, and I also feel back then you just didn't think twice about this. This was just the way life was or whatever. And I think Samantha also has a line that she kind of has a theme going on where she's like, that's just their biology. That's just who they are. Men are like that. Like she's always saying that, which I find interesting because she kind of, I feel like Samantha is like her frame that she sees the world in is like primitive. You know what I'm saying? Like primitive and I'm going to be primitive and they're going to be primitive and I'm not going to expect more, right? Which is interesting. But then with Carrie, I feel like she does hold it in. So when it comes out, it's coming out at these kind of weird times where everything kind of does seem good, but she's kept so much in. And I so relate to that.
Well, she has so many expectations for
That's
what's
true.
supposed to be, right?
You're so right.
Like when in the scene when they're in the charming restaurant and he refers to her as his girlfriend, like that was like she was adorable in that scene.
So adorable.
How she managed to balance that, like that she was living her dream come true at that moment and everything.
Yeah.
And she, but it's like, that's important. She likes to define things. She likes to have a name on it,
yes.
A key. I'm the girlfriend and have put these boxes around,
Yes.
Samantha's much freer. Like,
yes.
She's like she's ready to just live and let live. And if you have time for me, I'll take it.
Right. Which is great.
Yeah. So, but one thing that I didn't get a chance to watch the episode recently, but I just remembered when I saw the title.
Right.
I remembered one thing that bothered me about the episode as a 72-year-old woman.
Yes.
Was how that man's ass.
I know.
So large.
My God.
And like just one glimpse ruined everything for
I
them.
know, it's really a lot.
Everyone's ass is going to go south. Maybe we shouldn't be so harsh.
Yes, of course, Christy, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was also surprised because I do vaguely remember this storyline, and I remember there being stress about it, where like I think that's not that actor's real, actual naked rear end because he didn't look old enough, whatever that meant, because it had to be enough that it would send Samantha running from this, kind of whatever glamorous thing that she thought it was going to be. And I remember there being stress about it. And I think it was based on someone's story, which is something that the writers not our stories, the actors, but the writers' stories. So I think that also in the beginning, which in my mind, the second season is still somewhat of us finding ourselves, our legs, like our element of comedy mixed in with the real, you know?
Yes.
So sometimes there was stress about going far enough that it be funny.
Yes.
And when I saw it, I do remember the stress. And then I was like, oh my God, we went too far. Like, oh my God. But also it is something that is not talked about, which I think is so interesting. Like even still, it's not talked about, right? Yeah. And we all are going to age. This is true. This is it, right? So like at some level, we need to accept it and not shame it, which I hope we didn't seem like we were doing, but I could see maybe we went too far.
I felt like it was a little shaming, because I feel like as a spokesperson for the aged.
Oh my God, Christy, you don't have to take on the whole thing, baby. Oh my gosh. But okay, I love it that you're going to. Tell us.
I just feel like age is sort of like that last frontier in America that does need addressing, but we have to be, kinder about it because, physical things shouldn't. I mean, I know that, you can discuss things like that amongst girlfriends, and that's what the show was doing. But it just felt like a little much.
I know what you mean. I thought the same thing when it happened. I was like, whoa, we went far. Oh my gosh, we went far. I mean, yes, I think it's such a hard thing. And I think about this now because of And Just Like That, we do deal with aging things and we get so much flack about it. But when we came back to do the show, it was the reason we wanted to do the show. We thought, why shouldn't we still be telling these characters' stories? Why aren't these stories interesting?
Well, maybe even if there was like a thing like, okay, but, he is, there's that, but he has other qualities that are
absolutely right.
I don't know.
No, it was not. And that's, I think, back to the early days of the show too. I don't think, because we were supposed to be a comedy, right? And so we were always trying to center ourselves in the comedy. And when you do look at this episode, one of the things that did strike me also was that we're definitely, as a show, feeling more confident about really having the Carrie Big storyline have its ups and downs and go to the drama as well, right? Which at the time, there weren't that many single camera shows that were doing both, because we were on HBO and we didn't have to think about advertisers and all that. We were able to have that kind of range, right? Yeah. But I think that when they took the range to go to the dramatic, I think from a writing side, they also thought, oh, we have to equal that out in the comedy, right? And so therefore they pushed that too hard. And at the time, I'm sure we were not sensitive to aging because we were in our 30s or whatever we were. You know what I'm saying? So I can see how it played out, but I absolutely think that, I think it is, as you said, kind of the last frontier. Like we are dealing with, sexism. We are dealing with racism. We are dealing with all the different things. And ageism kind of just gets like, oh no, don't talk about that. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting. But yet on the other hand, there's this hunger to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
And also, maybe shouldn't have been dating somebody so young. And that's why they talk about it, because maybe if he was dating somebody his own age,
good point. Yeah.
Then it wouldn't have been an issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you still follow Candace Bushnell? Candace, who, originated.
Yes.
And she lives out at the beach too. And I had her on and she had so many facts and figures about, she's still Carrie, obviously, like doing her work, right? So she had numbers. She could tell you women over 50 are this amount of dating and women over 60 are, and then she wrote this whole article about being on Raya and being, is she
dating in the Hamptons, right?
Yes. It was so good, but also so terrifying.
Yes.
Like it was fascinating because the men, there's kind of this really extreme dichotomy between the men who are the same age and the women who are the same age. And the women look fantastic.
Yeah.
But yet the men who are that age don't want those women.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we going to do?
I know. I'm not on any kind of dating app like that, but my daughter's Sailor, she's so mischievous. She wanted to see what kind of guys, and she put for an hour or something, she put me up there with a name, and she said, Mom, you're right not to go on it because the same guys that, said yes to me were saying yes to you. Like it was.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this experiment.
Yeah.
Wow. Smart, Sailor. That is a really fascinating little experiment. I'm kind of scared and awed by the whole situation that has kind of evolved in the dating world. And I don't understand it, but I would like to understand it better. But not for me, just in general. I think culturally it's really fascinating, but I have incredibly beautiful friends who are on there and they're over 50 and nobody. And these are incredible women who own their own houses and have these incredible careers and travel the world. And to me, all the things that I ever wanted to be, everything, their kids are grown. They're, they have accomplished so much, yet the men their age are absolutely not looking for them.
Yeah.
How can we still be at this place?
I think that I find that what men like to do is sort of be able to find somebody that's that'll be impressed by every little thing that they do. Like, oh, really? Oh, you're taking me to that restaurant?
I love your invitation. That's great and perfect. And I think there are a lot of elements of this that are still true and that would have been true when we originally were making the show, So that's one of the things that I also think is interesting about Samantha with that man. That guy is so charming, an actor. He's so his energy is so alive and interesting that I can completely see why Samantha in that scene would think oh yes, maybe, because obviously we know her to be going out with younger men largely, right? Or her own age or whatever, whomever, right? But he's got a very vivacious kind of, energetics and fun and funny and all the things. And then he's giving her all the diamonds at dinner, which is kind of bizarre. Do you remember this? They're at his very fancy dining room with
the napkin, and she's
the unrolling of the napkins. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. I'm sure you've been through something like this in your life. I have never experienced something like that.
By the way, for those who tuned in late, it's not mine. I'm in the middle of a job. It
looks like yours. It suits you. It suits you beautifully. It's beautiful.
So what happened at Chappaquiddick? Well, it really depends on who you talk to.
There are many versions of what happened in 1969 when a young Ted Kennedy drove a car into a pond
and left a woman behind to drown.
There's a famous headline, I think in the New York Daily News. It's Teddy escapes, blonde drowns. And in a strange way, right? That sort of tells you. The story really became about Ted's political future, Ted's political hopes. Will Ted become president?
Chappaquiddick is a story of a tragic death and how the Kennedy machine took control.
And he's not the only Kennedy to survive a scandal.
The Kennedys have lived through disgrace, affairs, violence, you name it. So is there a curse? Every week, we go behind the headlines and beyond the drama of America's royal family.
Listen to United States of Kennedy on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The summer of 1993 was one of the best of my life. I'm journalist Jeff Pearlman, and this is Rick Jervis.
We were interns at the Nashville Tennessean, but the most unforgettable part? Our roommate, Reggie Payne, from Oakland, sports editor and aspiring rapper.
And his stage name? Sexy Sweat. In 2020, I had a simple idea. Let's find Reggie.
We searched everywhere, but Reggie was gone. In February 2020, Reggie was having a diabetic episode. His mom called 911. Police cuffed him face down. He slipped into a coma and died.
I'm like, thanking you. But then I see my son's not moving.
No headlines, no outrage, just silence.
So we started digging and uncovered city officials bent on protecting their own.
Listen to Finding Sexy Sweat on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
A foot washed up a shoe with some bones in it. They had no idea who it was.
Most everything was burned up pretty good from the fire, that not a whole lot was salvageable.
These are the coldest of cold cases, but everything is about to change.
Every case that is a cold case that has DNA right now in a backlog will be identified in our lifetime.
A small lab in Texas is cracking the code on DNA. Using new scientific tools, they're finding clues in evidence so tiny, you might just miss it.
He never thought he was going to get caught. And I just looked at my computer screen. I was just like, gotcha.
On America's Crime Lab, we'll learn about victims and survivors. And you'll meet the team behind the scenes at Othram, the Houston lab that takes on the most hopeless cases, to finally solve the unsolvable. Listen to America's Crime Lab on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What would you do if one bad decision forced you to choose between a maximum security prison or the most brutal boot camp designed to be hell on earth? Unfortunately for Mark Lombardo, this was the choice he faced.
He said, "You are a number, a New York State number, and we own you."
Shock incarceration, also known as boot camps, are short-term, highly regimented correctional programs that mimic military basic training. These programs aim to provide a shock of prison life, emphasizing strict discipline, physical training, hard labor, and rehabilitation programs. Mark had one chance to complete this program and had no idea of the hell awaiting him the next 6 months.
The first night was overwhelming, and you don't know who's next to you. And we didn't know what to expect in the morning. Nobody tells you anything.
Listen to Shock Incarceration on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Everyone thinks they'd never join a cult, but it happens all the time to people just like you and people just like us. I'm Lola Blanc.
And I'm Megan Elizabeth. We're the hosts of Trust Me, a podcast about cults, manipulation, and the psychology of belief.
Each week, we talk to fellow survivors, former believers, and experts to understand why people get pulled in and how they get out.
Trust Me, new episodes every Wednesday on Exactly Right. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The thing that I would think about with their scene, though, when they do, because you are kind of led to believe, like, this might work. You know, I mean, I also think it's a little interesting that Samantha would even want to be married to anyone for 10 years. Like, they talk about, oh, he's not going to last that long. He even says to herself, like, I'm probably not going to be around 10, 15 years, maybe. I've never heard Samantha ever say that she wanted to get married, right? Yeah. But it seems interesting that she's open to it. And then when they do finally, after all the diamonds, go to the bedroom, I believe that the voiceover from Carrie is something to the effect of, you know, when he touched her, it was like a younger man. When he kissed her, it was like a younger man. All of the parts were working like a younger man. So you're really feeling like it's great, right?
Yes.
And then he walks away, which is so sad.
Interesting, though, because she asked to dim the lights.
Oh, yeah.
She maybe suspected that might be the case, right?
You're so right.
Because she was like, let's turn off those lights.
You're so right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's better. I like it better. Something to the effect of,
it's sexier. I think she says it's sexier. Yes, that's so true. That's so true. But then it's so interesting to me that it's a very superficial thing, really, which is what you're saying, that everything feels great. Like if it feels great and you enjoy him, isn't that enough?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It made me run to the mirror.
I'm sure you look amazing. Oh my God.
Oh, how can I see that?
You're adorable. You're adorable. Listen, I think that the standards that women are held to in terms of working out, we're fed this, at least I feel like I'm fed this continual thing about my bone density and keeping my muscle mass. I mean, we have to keep it going.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think we have the luxury of being like, I'll just let it do whatever it's going to do back there. Do you know what I mean? Right?
No, it's really for our own well-being. And, they say that the key is not to have to live to be 150, but to be healthy.
Yeah.
Every day until the day you just, fall asleep and don't wake up peacefully.
Absolutely. That's the dream, right?
Yeah.
It's all about health.
Be like vigorous and healthy right to the end.
Absolutely. Active. You have to be active and keep it going, keep it moving, get out there in the world, all of those things for your brain as well. I know it's super interesting, I think, how we talk about aging now as opposed to when we were younger. I think it's coming along, but I do think between the sexes, there is still this kind of massive gap.
Yes.
Every case that is a cold case that has DNA right now in a backlog will be identified in our lifetime.
On the new podcast, America's Crime Lab, every case has a story to tell, and the DNA holds the truth.
He never thought he was going to get caught. And I just looked at my computer screen. I was just like, gotcha.
This technology is already solving so many cases.
Listen to America's Crime Lab on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Everyone thinks they'd never join a cult, but it happens all the time to people just like you and people just like us. I'm Lola Blanc.
And I'm Megan Elizabeth. We're the hosts of Trust Me, a podcast about cults, manipulation, and the psychology of belief.
Each week, we talk to fellow survivors, former believers, and experts to understand why people get pulled in and how they get out.
Trust Me, new episodes every Wednesday on Exactly Right. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
So what happened at Chappaquiddick? Well, it really depends on who you talk to.
There are many versions of what happened in 1969 when a young Ted Kennedy drove a car into a pond
and left a woman behind to drown.
Chappaquiddick is a story of a tragic death and how the Kennedy machine took control. Every week, we go behind the headlines and beyond the drama of America's royal family.
Listen to United States of Kennedys on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Jeff Pearlman.
And I'm Rick Jervis. We're journalists and hosts of the podcast Finding Sexy Sweat.
At an internship in 1993, we roomed with Reggie Payne, aspiring reporter and rapper who went by Sexy Sweat.
A couple years ago, we set out to find him.
But in 2020, Reggie fell into a coma after police pinned him down, and he never woke up.
But then I see my son's not moving.
So we started digging and uncovered city officials bent on protecting their own.
Listen to Finding Sexy Sweat on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Check out Behind the Flow, a podcast documentary series following the launch of San Diego Football Club.
San Diego coming to MLS is going to be a game changer because this region has been hungry for a men's professional soccer team.
We need to embrace this community.
Listen to San Diego FC Behind the Flow on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast.